What's up, YouTube? Hazu Talks in the wood shop, as always. I don't know when the videos are going up. My editor-in-chief, aka my son, he's been posting them. And some of them, because sometimes I'm long-winded, obviously. So he's been breaking some of them up, too. So I hope you kind of enjoy the new format. Tonight, some notes, some things that struck me, things that have been striking me. Coming out of I'm coming through the clouds, if you will, of the left versus right paradigm. It took me a long time to get here. I spent the last, maybe 3 years being angry at all the things that are being done on the Democrat side of things. Like as though there was righteousness in the GOP and what they're doing. But in reality, what I'm learning is that the left versus right paradigm is really just a two-headed snake, a poisonous two-headed snake. They literally need each other to survive. And they literally need the division and the animosity to stay in power and relevant. What I'm learning and what we're going to witness, if we're so inclined to see it, is we're gonna go through the next year and a half with a nonstop barrage of trying to upend the Biden administration by the GOP, because they're in charge of the House now. So they're going to open up, investigations, as they've been doing. There's been a special counsel put together today. Let's start at the beginning. And where this all comes from is, and this is kind of something that's not new to me, although my new political feelings about the two-headed snake thing are relatively new. The one thing that I held on to pretty tightly for the last, I'd say, 10 years is the amount of taxpayer money that they just waste. I mean, I own a business. I work hard. My son works for me. He works hard. We're paying into the system, I live in an affluent neighborhood with, pretty nice homes and I live in an area with a shit ton of disposable income. I live 5 miles from the island where the Long Beach Island, where the average home price is probably $1.5 or $2 million. So there's plenty of people working and paying taxes, federal taxes and state taxes and so on and so forth around here. And I've been kind of jotting down some notes because I'm going to take you back a little bit. Let's visit. Where do these tax dollars go? Does anybody know? Are we even allowed to ask questions? Does the government owe us as taxpayers, the people who fund the entire thing? Do they owe us the respect to ask us our opinions on where this tax money goes? I think so. There's no discussion. There's just meetings in the dead of night, or closed door meetings during the day, or they just have these meetings and they sit down and they decide that this is the thing that's relevant to the United States right now. And so this is where we're going to take this money and we're going to send this money. And a lot of times it's to other countries. A lot of times it's to other countries to do things that they're not doing here at home. They're probably humanitarian aid around the world in countries trying to help people on the streets, and gender studies in Pakistan. I know that was one that went through it that, I remember. Or building a wall in Ukraine to, because their sovereignty is important. Or you get it. You know what I'm saying? For 6 years, the House was run by Democrats, or was majority ruled by Democrats. For 4+ years, even still to today, actually, though, because I'm going to say 6 years. What are we dealing with? We had the Mueller probe, which is to prove that Trump colluded with Russia to steal the election, right? Now, the official number for that is $40 million that it cost U.S. taxpayers for our government to investigate a sitting U.S. president over whether or not he colluded with Russia. When that didn't work, they tried to impeach him 2 times. The first impeachment, I couldn't find any relevant pricing information, but the second impeachment, that they were actually able to charge him with that quid pro quo in Ukraine. Isn't it funny how all things come back to Ukraine? It's interesting, right? $33 million on the impeachment they spent to prove that he influenced Zelensky, which they didn't prove. $33 million. Now, what's the government? All right, let's keep going. Sorry. Millions. They've spent millions of dollars fighting court battles to try to get his tax information, his taxes released. And they were finally released 2 weeks ago. And what was it? Nothing burger. Millions of dollars. Think of the things you could do with that money. Think about the help that you could do. Think about the people that could go through drug counseling, or veterans through getting treated for their PTSD and their mental health issues. Think about, everybody's up in arms about the abortion things right now. So maybe some of that money could get funneled into adoption agencies and trying to get people who choose to keep babies, you know what I mean, so that the babies don't end up in bullshit foster care getting abused and molested. Better background checks, everybody's pushing for background checks on guns, obviously. What about background checks on foster homes, And I'm not talking, it's probably harder to get a dog in some states than it is to adopt a child. There's something to be said about that, But what is it? Everybody loves dogs, I guess, The Mar-a-Lago raid, millions of dollars, and a raid on a former president's house to find what? To find documents that they knew he had. They were there the month before. The office of whatever they do, the records keeping for the government, which has got to be a goddamn joke in and of itself. They were there the month before, and they went through the records, and they saw where they were being stored, and they saw whether or not they were declassified by Trump and blah blah blah. There's no information about it. You can't read about it. You know what I mean? That would go against their narrative. But what do we got? A month ago or 3 weeks ago, we won. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was in November or December. Whatever. The majority in the House now is the GOP. The Republicans won the House. And so this is, it seems the writing's on the wall for a reset, for a great reset, if you will. What's happening now? You've got special counsels being formed because there was 2 drops of classified information that Biden has been found with. One of his aides sold him out and, showed that there was classified information in a building that he rented after he was vice president. And then they found more classified information in his garage in Delaware next to his Corvette or whatever. That's the story today. That's the big distraction. So they created a special counsel, millions right down the drain. Now there's talk of impeachment. The House, probably, McCarthy, they're going to go for a full impeachment. Another $35 million down the drain. This is an interesting little tidbit. They, when they found, when this first dropped, this building that he rented after he was vice president, where they found that first, catch of cash, whatever that word would be, you know, of classified documents. They found it within a 2-week period of time of when they raided Mar-a-Lago. After we already established, they knew what was at Mar-a-Lago, but they needed a story. They literally spun what was happening with the Biden administration and pinned it back on Trump and made this great distraction, this dog and pony show of raiding the former president's mansion, going through his son's stuff, going through his wife's stuff. You know what I mean? All because they knew something had been discovered in the Biden administration and they needed a bigger story. This shit is corrupt, man. We're really, they could talk about Russia being corrupt or Ukraine being corrupt or North Korea being corrupt or whatever, or Venezuela being corrupt. Nobody's corrupt as our government. Hunter Biden investigation. How many millions of dollars has already been spent investigating the scumbag? You know what I mean? This basically scumbag drug addict who slept with his dead brother's wife, is a deadbeat dad to his own kids, knocked up a stripper and had a baby with her, and is a deadbeat dad to that person, who got paid millions of dollars in through foreign countries, literally so that he could use his father's influence, or people were paying him for the father's influence. I know that's yet to be proven, but they'll prove it. They're going to prove it because they've got a never-ending amount of cash flowing their way, and they'll just spend it. They'll just create new special counsels and dig deeper and whatever. They never run out of money. They never run out of money. The only time the government runs out of money is when you hear all that talk of raising the debt ceiling because the government's about to run out of money. Funny how that is not a practical solution in real life. And we can't do that. I can't just raise the debt ceiling of my house. I can't just turn around and go, all right, well, I'm $1 million in debt right now. So I guess what I'm going to need you guys to do is to fund me another $300,000. So now I can go 1.3 into debt. No, doesn't happen like that. But they just keep writing checks and keep printing money and keep taxing us. And that's literally what we are, right? We're just tax cattle. We're out here funding this corrupt government entity that just spends our money without a care in the world. I mean, it's like they're spoiled rich kids with their daddy's black American Express, and the dad is a multi-billionaire and will never even see a dent in what they're spending money on. That's how we get treated. $100 billion to Ukraine. That was never going to go away. That's never going to get old to me. That $100 billion to Ukraine is our money. What could that $100 billion be used for here? Education, healthcare, maybe how about a war on obesity? How about a war on healthy food in America? I'm not talking about the food pyramid, the way that their studies are being paid for by Kraft or whatever to make it known that fatty foods and carbs should be eaten, 9 times a day, and vegetables and grilled proteins should be down to 1 time a day. I mean, it's a goddamn joke. You know what I mean? From a health standpoint. I'm talking about real education about how people should eat to lose weight. And let's get all the goddamn bullshit and nitrates and preservatives and chemicals out of our food. Let's stop doing business with Bayer, aka Monsanto. Let's stop letting billionaires buy up all our farmland so that we're forced to buy our food from other countries that Bayer and Monsanto run the agricultural markets, and also run the meats and, meat markets and whatnot. That $100 billion could go a long way to help battle, the health from a food perspective here in America. And on the subject of food, I'm sick to my stomach. I'm literally sick to my stomach. I watched my wife last week tell me that I had to go pick up an order from Walmart at night, and like she was like $265, and I was like, Jesus, $265 food bill for a week at just Walmart. That didn't include our other shopping. Like we had to do, basically real food shopping at ShopRite to get our produce and our meats and our lunch meats and our dairy and whatnot. Walmart's just the AKA house goods, soaps, shampoos, dish soaps, formula, bottled water. What people buy. But we still do, a fair amount of our food shopping in food stores too, like ShopRite or Acme. So I spent $264, and I remember bringing it home and like unloading the car. And when I was done unloading the car and I put it on my countertop in the house, I was like, this ain't shit. This used to be like $100, $110, what I'm looking at. A couple bags of chips, the expensive thing were these 2 big cans of formula. They're expensive. I know that, and so be it. We gotta buy formula, but like eggs are freaking $11 right now for an 18 pack or something like that. It's absolutely unheard of. And they're bragging. The inflation report came out, and they're bragging that we're the 6th month consecutive of a drop in inflation. I don't see it. I mean, I see the gasoline prices come down a fair amount. My diesel's still $5 a gallon. That's not going anywhere. But I don't know where they're claiming these savings at. Their NPR put out a thing that said inflation is nearly going to end soon. I don't see it. I'm probably spending $1,200 a month or more on food and formula and beverages in my house for a month, probably more, probably like $1,500. That's freaking ridiculous. $350, $400 a week to spend to eat. We don't even eat that much. Granted, our freezers are full. We're blessed. We have a lot of food in our house. We'd probably survive easily a month or 2 months if the shit hit the fan right now. That's a little bit of my prepper background, I guess, that I don't really embrace, but I've always got one ear to it, 1 ear to it and like 1 foot in the door ready to pull the trigger and just go buy up whatever I got to buy to survive. Just say I have an Amazon cart filled with stuff that, if I just hit purchase, we'd be set up for a bit, and I recommend that to people too. It it's actually a fun thing for me to sit down at night and like, it's kind of like window shopping, but through Amazon, I'm sure I'm not the first person to talk about this, but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy sitting there and like adding stuff to a cart. The things that you'd like to have, in your home, or things that you'd want for survival, or things that you want to do as a hobby. I bought a harmonica, because my granddaughters enjoy it. I bought a guitar because I want to learn how to play. With that said, meats and poultry, super expensive right now. I don't know what's happening with cows. All I know is that the price per cattle must have gone way up, and I hope farmers are making a lot of money these days because of it. because maybe they were held hostage for a long time. But you remember the last 2 years? How many meat factories went up in flames and poultry factories went up in flames? How many avian bird flus hit specific poultry plants that they had to cull their entire, herd of chickens? And here we are. This is the culmination of all that happening. And then, the price of diesel being way up for truckers and whatnot. And their constant barrage of rhetoric about how dangerous fossil fuels are, just scaring everybody, this constant fear mongering that they're doing. I mean, shit. This week, one of the top stories was they're trying to ban natural gas ranges. Can they do that? And who would listen to that, Pasta. I got granddaughters, as I speak about occasionally. My wife and daughter are in the process of trying to get them to eat more food, and come off formula a little bit. I mean, they're still doing both, obviously, but they're like 9 months now, so they gotta start moving towards the transition of more real food versus formula, obviously. So we're working hard. My wife's working really hard, and my daughter making all kinds of food, eating sweet potatoes and ricotta cheese and yogurt and butternut squash and apples and pears and strawberries and sometimes bananas and we moved on to pastas, and we're trying to make some pastas for them. Almost done. And so one of the things with the pastas is I was telling my wife, hey, buy pastina. I remember pastina from being a kid, and I've seen it throughout my life. And here we are, 2023, and I'm looking for pastina, and it's not in any of the food stores. And I'm that's really weird. This stuff's been around for 50 years, 60 years. Why is it not available? And I go and I look on Amazon. I'm yeah, the hell with it. I'll just order it online. And I found it, and it was 2 boxes or 3 boxes of 12-ounce boxes of dried pastina pasta. $35. We're talking $9 a box for pasta. What is happening? Food right now is at an all-time high, price-wise. We're in hyperinflation, at least from a food perspective, and whatever else. Building materials, a bucket of spackle went in the last 3 months has gone from $14 to $22. It's almost doubled in price in 3 months. A sheet of drywall went from $9. It's up around $15 now. Everything is up in price. I know they're blaming it on the diesel and the shipping, and whatnot, but a lot of this is just big time corporations price gouging because they can, because everybody else is in on the game. So why shouldn't they make more money as well? Who benefits? Multinational corporations, of course. That's who's benefiting. And who else benefits? Because the government ain't doing nothing about it. That's because all these multinational corporations have lobbyists in Washington greasing the pockets of these corrupt, dirty politicians. So nobody says anything. They just go on TV and smile and tell us, guess what? Inflation's coming down. Is it? Is it coming down? I don't think so, All right, YouTube. That's all I got for tonight. I'm gonna hit you with a different one tomorrow too. Another topic that perplexes me. Just about people in general online and what's going on in today's day and age. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. So please like and subscribe to my channel. Share it with all your friends and family. If you think it's relevant, you got any information from it, if you want to talk about any of it, comment. I'd love to engage. Thanks. Good night.